Hey guys, welcome back to Supposedly Fun. I'm Greg. It's been about 4 days since I posted anything, and I'm sorry, but I have found myself in a bit of a reading slump. So I wanted to do a video about how I get out of a reading slump. So right now, basically, there's a winter storm where I live. It's basically a full-on blizzard, so I've been doing a lot of shoveling, a lot of other things, and I haven't really had time, but I think in this case, it's just a case of I've been reading a lot of books back to back for a while, since December. So I think my brain is telling me I need a break because I finished Mary Berry's book, Recipe for Life, 4 days ago, and I have my next book lined up. And I've only managed to get 10 pages into it. And I'm really interested in it, and I really like what I've read so far. I just can't really get myself to pick up the book. But that's okay. It's a natural cycle. But here are my tips to get out of a reading slump. The first one is to just give it time. Like I said, most of the time, if I hit a slump, it's because I've been doing a lot of back-to-back reading. Now, I read 7 books in January, 8 books in February so far, and it's just started to feel like a lot. So I need to take a break. Trying to make myself keep going only makes it worse. And besides, the worst thing you can do is make reading into something stressful. I read because I love it. I don't want to turn it into something that's pressured, you know? So if you have to take some time, take some time. That's okay. And, you know, if it's a few days, great. If it's a few weeks, that's okay. If it's a few months, I once had a period where I barely read for a year because I had things going on in my life that I needed to really think about and get settled. And I did, and I got back to reading, and it was okay. You know, you don't have to pressure yourself to keep going. The thing is, if you love it, you're always going to come back to it. So remember that. So if that's what you need, just that time, do it. My second tip is to go to your comfort zone. When you're not feeling well, you eat chicken soup or some other comfort food. I don't know your life. But reading should be the same. You just go to read the type of book that makes you happy, or the genre that you can get through the easiest. For me, I usually go to mystery thrillers most often when I'm in a reading slump and I want to get out of it. I had been working my way through Sue Grafton's series about Kinsey Millhone. I got up to, I think P is for Peril was the last one I had read, so I was up to R is for Ricochet. But after Sue Grafton died, I started rereading them, and in the rereads, I'm up to, I think D is for Deadbeat. So if I'm in a reading slump, I might pick up one of these. Or in the past, I've also done plays. I've also done intermediate or young adult books as well, just because I know I like them. I know I'm going to be able to get through them. Even if I don't like the book, I know I'm going to be entertained getting through it. And one of the benefits of the Sue Grafton books is that they're relatively short. The early ones are about roughly 200 pages. They get longer as they go. But it's a perfect slump buster. So if you have a genre or an author that you really like, revisit it. It's perfect. My third tip is to change the format you're reading in. 2 years ago, I was reading almost exclusively ebooks. And that's because I was getting my best reading time at night when I was in bed and my husband went to sleep. I could just sit there with my phone or my iPad and read an ebook. But I hit a slump and I couldn't get out of it. And I kept picking up my phone or my tablet and trying to get into another book. And I was having a really hard time. And finally, I walked to my bookshelves, skimmed through them, found a book, sat down, and tore through it. So it turned out it was the format that was the problem. And I talked about this a lot in my post about reading habits, which I will link above. But that was the moment when I discovered that ebooks had become part of general screen fatigue for me. You know, I stare at a computer screen or a phone screen all day, and I don't really feel like I want to do it anymore in my me time and when I'm reading. So it's 2 years later, I'm still struggling to get ebooks back in my life because I don't want to stare at screens anymore. But that's okay because I've totally rediscovered physical books and I love them. It's always the one that feels the most natural and best to me anyway. So it works, and I'm sure I'll cycle back to ebooks at some point. But in the meantime, I'm having a really good time with these. Audiobooks can be really great for changing formats as well because it's just, it feels like less work in a way. And like I said, I finished this 4 days ago, but in the last 4 days, I finished an audiobook that I was listening to. And I will talk to you about that book as well. It was Barbara Kingsolver's Unsheltered. So I'll be talking about that. But point being, I haven't been able to pick up another book since I finished this, but I finished an audiobook. So it's a great way to get out of a slump as well. So there you have it. There are my 3 tips to bust a reading slump. If you have other tips, I would love to hear them. Please let me know. I'm always looking for tips, and like I said, I'm kind of in a slump right now, so I could use your help. And I'll be back. I'll talk about some of the books that I have been reading. I got my February reading wrap-up coming. So if you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing, and thank you for your time watching it, and I'll be back. Until then, happy reading.